very fascinating topic, and I know it's an emotional one, but I want to walk through this. There was questions about, now you know that there are ballot propositions that you're going to be able to vote on. There is a bipartisan committee that gets together and is supposed to write up neutral descriptions of those ballot initiatives so that you, the voter, understands what a yes vote and a no vote means on those initiatives. So many people that are not familiar necessarily with the inner workings as they go through the process, when they get to and because of early voting, you have time to do research. But for the person that's reading it on the ballot, you should be able to say, okay, if I vote yes on this, this happens. If I vote no on this, this happens. Well, there were questions because the description was being written in the voter guide. So you get a voter guide in the mail. The voter guide and the latest ballot initiative is being proposed. So in this, a lower court ruling said that the voters, it included the phrase for the abortion issue, which would enshrine abortion rights. And we talked yesterday about how it's worded and what it would actually do. It includes in the description unborn human being. And there were some people that thought that that went too far, and that was a partisan statement. And so the ruling was that the Arizona Supreme Court said that the lower court ruling the Supreme Court ruling is that this will remain with that language on the ballot or on the description. The ruling is a win for Republican legislative leaders and brings to a close a legal battle over the language that goes in a voter pamphlet. So state law says the description, which is approved by Republican majority legislative council, must be impartial. I'll be honest with you. From my personal point of view, I have a jaded view on this. I'm giving you, again, I'm walking in telling you I got a bias here. I look at this and I think that's what it is. It's an unborn human being. And I don't know how, you can't really joke about this, but if you know who the comedian Bill Burr is one of those guys that can take any situation and in a genius way make you look at a very serious issue and laugh at some of the hypocrisy or the idiocy or whatever on both sides. So he pokes fun first in his act about the people that are pro-life, but then he says, but on the other hand, that, people say, well, it's not a baby. And you say, well, if I was making a birthday cake and I put it in the oven and you came over and you opened the oven and you threw my cake across the kitchen and I said, hey, what did you just do to my birthday cake? And I said, well, it wasn't a cake yet. Well, it would have been if you'd have left it in the oven. And so there's humor in that joke, and it does point out what a lot of people are saying. And this is where the rub is in this. It's an emotional issue that we're never going to get past. So I think my point of view on this is if you are part of the pro-choice crowd, I respect your opinion. I don't agree with it. I adamantly disagree with it. But I do think that if we are going to alter our Constitution, that we have to make sure people understand the decisions they're making. And sugarcoating a glob of cells, whatever you want to call it, is fine, except you are making a decision here that it can be life-altering for people. And so you should understand the seriousness of the decision you're making. So I don't have an issue with this. On the other hand, I have friends that are pro-choice. I understand they're outraged because there will be people that look at that and go, oh, well, shouldn't you? Shouldn't you? When making a decision, I'm not talking about to have an abortion or not, but making a decision to alter our Constitution, shouldn't you consider the seriousness of that vote? I used to say to people when trying to tell them and explain to them, listen, I'm not trying to create laws against or for some, to control someone. I believe it's a human being. And I've asked all the questions others have asked. If you had somebody that you loved who was pregnant and she was in an accident with a drunk driver and lost the pregnancy because of that accident, would you want that person convicted of murder? Do you think they've killed a child? And if the answer in your mind is yes, then it can't be a child when you want it. From conception, a couple is so excited. We're pregnant. We're going to have a baby. We aren't sure if it's a boy or a girl yet, but we're going to go and we're going to get the test done. We're going to go to the ultrasound. And we're going to find out very early on in the pregnancy. And if unfortunately it happens that pregnancy is lost, they feel as if they've lost their child. Well, that's a child then, right? So when do you get to decide? And that's always been the question in our society. When is it a human life? That's the only question I've ever asked people is we should argue. Let's not argue about me trying to control your body. Let's argue about when life begins, when in your mind it becomes a human being. And I think that this adds to that conversation. It does. And I know it outrages some people, but that's where it is. That's what's happening.
Thanks for watching the Mike Broomhead Show. Tap to watch the first season of Amazing Arizonans, a KTAR News podcast. You can also click the button in the middle to subscribe.